Now at 9, the Southeast Kansas Humane Society held a microchip event for local furry friends. Plus, the community of Fort Scott, Kansas came together to support a local cancer patient.
California braces for more flooding and power outages. I'm Max Gordon in Pajaro, California. All of the latest coming up.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Cale Chapman. The Southeast Kansas Humane Society hosted a pet microchip clinic today. According to the SEK Humane Society, 1 in 3 pets will go missing during their lifetime. The microchip is placed under the skin of the pets and acts as a collar that will never be lost. After the chip is inserted, the owner goes online and puts in their contact information.
Once you scan that microchip, it's registered in your name, so that way whoever scans them will have your name and contact information. Therefore, then you'll be able to be contacted. Oh, hey, we have your dog. You guys can come and pick him up, kind of thing.
The cost of a microchip is $20. Earlier today, community members in Fort Scott, Kansas gathered for a lunch and auction benefiting Austin Parks and his family. Parks began cancer treatment earlier this year and has had an extended hospital stay. Those that came to eat lunch made donations and participated in an auction with the proceeds going to help the Parks family.
Kyle Parks has been a teacher, or was a teacher in this community for 38 years, so he's been a pretty big staple to our community, and I was fortunate enough to replace him 2 years ago. So our family coming together and raising money for them has been awesome.
Several Fort Scott organizations helped to organize the event. The Miners Hall Museum in Franklin, Kansas hosted its next program in conjunction with their quarterly exhibit of money and metals doing business in the mining era. Participants learned how to sort their coins for appraisal, as well as which coins they should spend and which coins they should save. The event featured special guests to help take a deeper look at the coinage.
I think there's no substitute for experience. Having kids touch money, use money, spend money, save money is very, very important. And that's how we all started as collectors. So the more experience people get with actually handling money, the more familiarity they have with it, of course.
Participants were able to view the quarterly exhibit following the presentation. The Comic Book Roadshow rolled into Joplin at the Hilton Garden Inn to see what collectibles 4-staters had to offer. Those at the event had the opportunity to sell their vintage comic books, baseball cards, toys, and video games for cash. The roadshow was staffed with antique dealers that specialize in such collectibles.
Okay, I've been doing this for 35 years and it never fails that I see some things that I've never seen before, and it's already happened this morning. So I get to learn also, and we get to research together. There's a lot of outlets for research that I have that you wouldn't have the ability to use because you don't have subscriptions to these websites like I do. So I can be pretty helpful, my partner and I, on a lot of these items that, well, I've never seen this before and I don't know how to find out the value. Chances are we can.
The show continues tomorrow back at the Hilton Garden Inn starting at 10 a.m. A massive group of migrants rushed the border in El Paso, Texas this afternoon. The migrants were reportedly mostly Venezuelan. They can be seen making their way toward the El Paso del Norte bridge in an effort to cross the border. A witness said crowd control measures were used and most of the migrants were pushed back. But some of them gathered at a smaller bridge nearby as others crossed the Rio Grande River. Customs and Border Patrol said they were sending manpower into the area. Election Day 2024 is more than a year and a half away, but the race for the White House is already heating up, especially among Republicans. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, who is widely expected to run, and former U.S. Ambassador Nikki Haley were both in Iowa on Friday, and former President Donald Trump is scheduled to visit the Hawkeye State tomorrow. Fox News correspondent Alexandria Hoff has the details from Washington.
While in Iowa tomorrow, the former president is expected to lay out new education policy, a subject that Governor DeSantis spoke to at length during his first ever trip to the state on Friday. Right now, the Florida governor remains on the 2024 sidelines, but is considered Trump's leading rival. And the trip alone indicates a campaign on the horizon. In 2 stops, DeSantis promoted his new book and the Florida Blueprint, as he calls it. Here's the governor today on Sunday Morning Futures.
When you lead and people know where you stand and you deliver results, they don't even have to agree with you all the time. They'll respect that and they know they can count on you.
The Iowa caucus is under a year away. It's the nation's first Republican nominee decider. DeSantis' trip overlapped a 3-day visit to the state by former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley. Haley announced her run for the White House last month. In Iowa, she spoke of her international leadership experience, providing a critical asset. Tech entrepreneur Vivek Ramaswamy and businessman Perry Johnson have also declared their candidacy for the presidential nomination. Now, the overall pool will soon thicken and may change the dynamic. Republican Senator Kevin Cramer offered this today.
Challenge becomes if there are too many people in the race. And there are other good ones. Mike Pence, Mike Pompeo, certainly. My friend Tim Scott would all be good candidates who understand the Trump doctrine, but have a demeanor that's probably more suitable to the swing voter. And
you heard former Vice President Pence named there. And while delivering remarks at an event here in D.C. yesterday, Pence shared some of the strongest words yet regarding his former boss, saying, quote, "History will hold Donald Trump accountable," adding that the former president was wrong to think that he, as vice president, had the right to overthrow the 2020 election results. In Washington, Alexandria Hoff, Fox News.
Coming up, President Biden says he's unsure if he'll sign a bill to declassify information about the origins of COVID-19. Yesterday marked 3 years since the World Health Organization declared COVID-19 a global pandemic. On Friday, the House of Representatives voted unanimously on a Senate-approved bill that would declassify intelligence on the origins of COVID-19. The bill is on its way to President Biden's desk. Fox News correspondent Charles Watson is in Atlanta, home of the CDC, with more.
The White House says it is reviewing the piece of legislation, and so far President Biden hasn't really indicated which way he's leaning on this particular situation.
Will you sign the bill to declassify the COVID intelligence?
Hey, Mr. President. So no clear decision from the president, but a very clear one from members of the House who overwhelmingly voted for the Director of National Security to declassify information related to the origin of COVID-19. It is perhaps the strongest message yet from both Republicans and Democrats, indicating that Americans have serious questions about where the deadly virus came from and how to stop another one from spreading uncontrollably in the future.
This should be an easy vote, because this is just about science. If it looks like a duck, swims like a duck, quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck. Folks, this screams like a duck.
This is certainly a different posture for Democrats in relation to 2021, when House Democrats really refused to bring this bill sponsored by Republican Senator Josh Hawley to the floor. It's been a point of contention also between U.S. intelligence officials who are at odds on whether the leak came from a lab in Wuhan or spread from animals, possibly from a wet market in Wuhan. A lot of this really came to a head earlier this week after former CDC Director Robert Redfield told lawmakers that Dr. Fauci denied him access to internal conversations about the origin because he sides with the lab leak theory. Dr. Fauci denies the accusation.
I didn't put him or take him off. And it's really disturbing that in a public hearing of a congressional hearing, he makes an accusatory statement that has no basis whatsoever in reality.
And if President Biden does sign this bill into law, then the Director of National Intelligence will have 90 days to declassify and release the information, all of the information that's been gathered on the origin of COVID-19. In Atlanta, Charles Watson, Fox News.
A new recommendation from the Centers of Disease Control suggests all adults get tested for hepatitis B at least once in their lifetime. Hepatitis B is an illness linked to liver disease and cancer. The CDC estimates 500,000 to 2.5 million people live with hepatitis B, and 2/3 of them might not know about their infection. It spreads through contact with infected blood or bodily fluids that can happen during sex, pregnancy, or delivery, or by injecting drugs. A new study links the ketogenic or keto diet to a higher risk of heart attacks and cardiovascular disease. Ketogenic diets are high in fat and low in carbohydrates. They're so low in carbohydrates that they cause the body's metabolism to break down fat and turn it into energy. New research presented at the American College of Cardiology's annual scientific session has found a keto-like diet may be associated with higher blood levels of LDL cholesterol, which is often referred to as the bad cholesterol. Meteorologist Sam Lane is next with a complete look at the forecast. And later, the Biden administration is facing questions about President Biden's budget proposal.
Well, after the morning clouds and fog this morning, we had a little bit of peak of sun this afternoon, and temperatures started to respond as a result. Right now in Seneca, Missouri at Indigo Sky Casino and Resort, we have a pretty nice night shaping up down there, as well as across the entire four-state area. It was pretty cool today. We only made it up to 47 degrees after starting out at 38, which was, of course, below the normals of 58 and 36. Not anywhere near those records of 83 and -5 back in 1948. Radar's clear for the most part. We do have a few sprinkles and showers down in northwest Arkansas and southern Benton County near Siloam Springs, but all that is starting to move away from us. You can see it's a part of a system of some energy that's rotating through our area right now. There's other little pieces of energy off towards the west that's going to make their way over our area over the next few days, but we're waiting on a bigger storm system off the west coast that's going to start to make its impact in here as we move towards Thursday, and that's when we expect the rain chances to start to go up. Temperatures right now are generally in the 30s and 40s, 39 in Fort Scott, Nevada, as well as Stockton. A little bit warmer down to the south where it's 43 in Nowata as well as Veneta. Pick out your hometown under northerly winds. And when you factor in the wind, this is what it feels like right now, pretty much in the 30s everywhere. Check out Independence. They're down to 33 is what it feels like right now. Also the same in Fort Scott, 41 in Grove. Dew points are also drier, 20s up towards the northwest. And this is kind of the first indication of where we're headed as far as low temperatures tonight. 38 in Grove and 36 down in Jay. Right now in Joplin, mostly fair skies with a temperature of 44 degrees, northwest wind at 8. So it feels like 40 out there. Dew points low at 28 and the humidity at 53%. In Pittsburgh, you see the flag flying there, 40 degrees, and it feels like 37 right now with the northwest wind at 5 and the humidity right now double nickel at 55%. Your forecast for tonight, we're going to see mostly fair skies with northerly winds and temperatures getting quite cold, especially up towards the north, lower 20s like in Garnett with 21, 23 in Yates Center, same in Iola. A little bit warmer here in the metro, around 25, 26 and 27 down towards the south. Then as we head through the day tomorrow, we're expecting temperatures to barely struggle out of the 30s into the lower 40s, 38 in Garnett, 38 in Mound City, 39 in Iola, a little bit warmer down in Grove, well, they should top out at about 45. Then as we go through Tuesday morning, winds are going to turn around to the east, but we're still going to be quite chilly with lows in the teens and 20s. Look at that, 20 in Mound City, 20 in Nevada, 21 in Stockton, a little bit warmer in Coffeyville with 27. Then as we head through Tuesday afternoon, the winds will turn around to the south. We should make it into the upper 40s to lower 50s across the area. And then as we move into Wednesday morning, south winds continuing, so we won't be quite as chilly, but still lows in the 30s on those southerly winds. Precipitation forecast as we go through time, we're expecting on Thursday scattered showers and storms with rainfall amounts around 1/3 to 1/2 inch, maybe some localized areas getting a little bit more than that. But it's going to be cold across most of the country in the 8 to 14 day period, especially on the west coast. How about our area? Oh, over the next 7 days, we're looking at 43 on Monday, 52 on Tuesday, and then here comes that round of storms on Thursday. And then for St. Patrick's Day, we're looking at 43 degrees and chilly next weekend, and that continues into the early part of next week. Cale?
Alrighty, well, thank you, Sam. Coming up, we've got relief at the pump. We'll take a look at what AAA is saying about gas prices in the near future. Critics are slamming President Biden's budget proposal, pointing to concerns that his nearly $7 trillion in proposed new spending would add $17 trillion to the federal debt. All this as the White House pushes back on reports that it's decided to approve a major oil drilling project in Alaska. Fox News correspondent Lucas Tomlinson is in the White House with more.
President Biden says that trillions more in government spending will be paid for by taxing the wealthy. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy says the spending is out of control.
So it's not a revenue problem, it's a spending problem. We've got more money ever coming in. The problem is that the Democrats in the majority, they increased spending by 30%.
The Wall Street Journal says the Biden budget will grow the debt by $17 trillion, a roughly 50% increase. Here's the chairman of the House Freedom Caucus.
We can solve our debt crisis responsibly if we shrink Washington and grow America. McCarthy's not going to cut a deal with Democrats. Speaker McCarthy's not going to cut a deal with them.
Here's what's in Biden's budget. Increasing taxes on those making more than $400,000 from 3.8% to 5%. $842 billion in defense spending. But it's notable that it's a roughly 30% increase over last year, which amounts to a cut when you factor in inflation is over 6%. And defense spending is now at historic lows as a percentage of U.S. GDP at a time when many want to see U.S. forces grow to handle China and replenish depleted U.S. weapons stockpiles used to arm Ukraine. Speaking of which, there's $6 billion more to support Ukraine and Europe, $26 billion to strengthen the border, $3 billion to help poor countries deal with global warming, and the funding for over 100,000 police officers across the nation. The White House is denying reports it has approved a massive $8 billion oil drilling project in Alaska over the objections from environmental groups. The president's apparent about-face comes as an official announcement over his re-election campaign looms. Alaska Senator Dan Sullivan says the project will help Alaska natives and lower gas prices. As a presidential candidate, Joe Biden said he would never approve any drilling projects.
No more subsidies for fossil fuel industry. No more drilling on federal lands. No more drilling, including offshore. No ability for the oil industry to continue to drill. Period. Ends.
It's estimated the Alaska drilling project will create more than 2,500 jobs and generate more than $17 billion in revenue. At the White House, Lucas Tomlinson, Fox News.
Visa, MasterCard, and Discover announced they will pause a plan to implement a new merchant category code for the nation's gun retailers. It comes after political pressure from Republican officials. Some financial companies explored the possibility of tracking gun sales through their payment systems in the wake of mass shootings. It's getting harder for first-time home buyers to achieve the American dream. The Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta says housing affordability is at its lowest level in a decade. It found U.S. households would have to spend nearly 43% of their monthly income to afford the median home price. Data shows housing affordability is worse today than it was during the peak of the 2008 housing bubble. Consumers could soon catch a break at the gas pump thanks to a global trend. AAA says the average price for a gallon of gas rose 9 cents this week for a national average of $3.46 a gallon. But both demand for gas and global oil prices are falling. More interest rate hikes by the Federal Reserve to halt a possible recession could also cause lower oil demand and less economic activity. Up next, in Arizona City is changing its name for an artist coming to town. If you're a Taylor Swift lover, this is sure to be a hit. The city of Glendale, Arizona is enchanted to be the kickoff location for Taylor Swift's upcoming Eras Tour. And they decided to temporarily change their name because of it. Glendale is expected to announce its name change tomorrow ahead of Swift's shows on Friday and Saturday at the State Farm Stadium. The city formerly known as Glendale is also planning to give Swifties some tips for go-to places to shake it off and keep the party going after the show. But the name change won't be forever and always. It'll only be in effect the 2 days Taylor Swift will be in town. We've got 30 more minutes of news, weather, and sports coming your way. Coming up, another round of severe weather hits California. We'll hear from one of the residents about the impact. People throughout Northern California are cleaning up after gusty winds and torrential rain pummeled the state. Now the region is bracing for yet another round of severe weather. Fox Weather's Max Gordon has more.
Millions of people remain under flood watches as another atmospheric river threatens California. Beginning Monday, the storm is expected to bring heavy rain and mountain snow to northern and central parts of the state. Local officials fear the additional water could lead to more flooding and power outages.
Given the close proximity of this atmospheric river to the last one that we just received a few days ago, the ground is incredibly saturated, as are the trees. It will not take much to knock down trees and cause power outages.
Many communities are still recovering from an atmospheric river that pummeled the state on Friday. Rising water flooded homes and businesses, prompting widespread evacuation orders. Among the hardest hit areas, Monterey County. On Friday night, the Pajaro River breached a levee, sending gushing water into nearby neighborhoods. Residents say many living in the area are farm workers. Some fear they could now be out of their homes and jobs for months.
I work in the fields, picking berries, and I think this year is going to be hard for them. The water's too high. Yeah, it's very, very high.
And in northern Nevada, flooding from that same storm caused widespread road closures. More than a dozen counties were placed under a state of emergency.
I'm still out here no matter what. It's when it gets icy is a little
scary.
Last week, President Biden approved an emergency declaration to help out with California's recovery efforts. In Pajaro, California, Max Gordon, Fox West.
A man is in custody accused of firing a gun during a party on the campus of Colby College in Maine. The shooting happened at an apartment building on campus early yesterday. Police say Andrew Gifford faces a felony charge of reckless conduct with a dangerous weapon. Investigators say Gifford got into a fight with two other men on the ground floor of the building. All three men are from Waterville, Maine, and are not students at the college. Police say one of the men assaulted Gifford and the 24-year-old pulled out a gun and fired shots. It's something many of us have done, knocking on a door looking for a friend or family member, only to realize it's the wrong one. Well, this time that mistake led to one Houston man being shot. Fox's Damali Keith reports from northeast Houston where this happened.
My red hoodie is dark red, like wine red. It's riddled with bullet holes.
19-year-old Chance Willis ended up shot more than once after simply knocking on the wrong door.
The bullet grazed right here by my heart, and right here went in, hit the chest cavity, and came out.
The 19-year-old, whose little brother is now helping nurse him back to health, has been staying at his older brother's place since helping him move in days ago because it's closer to his job, where he works a civilian position at a constable's office.
He graduated early from high school. He's trying to go to the police academy.
Around 4 a.m. Tuesday, Willis had just spoken on the phone with his brother, who told him to come on in, but once at the apartment door, which, as it turns out, was the next breezeway over,
Do a little knock on the door, and I turned the knob. The knob is locked.
he realizes it's the wrong door and heads down the stairs.
When I hear the door open, I'm turned like side. I'm on the stairs, but I'm sideways on the stairs. I said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I have the wrong apartment." Just let off 2 shots. Boom, boom.
He says the man began to chase him, continuing to shoot.
You send them out there and you don't even know if they'll make it back.
I still wake up and I thank God, because I wasn't supposed to make it out of it alive.
Mark Brown. How you doing, Your Honor?
The neighbor who opened fire on Willis when he knocked at the wrong door, Mark Brown, is now behind bars charged with aggravated assault. By the way, even as Chance Willis was running for his life, he says,
I was more worried about missing work. I called my lieutenant. I was like, "Lieutenant, I'm sorry, I might have to miss work. But if they get me out in time, I might be able to come."
Still ahead, new fire trucks are going electric. We'll take a look at the benefits that will come with this change.
Well, after the morning clouds and fog this morning, we had a little bit of peak of sun this afternoon, and temperatures started to respond as a result. Right now in Seneca, Missouri, at Indigo Sky Casino and Resort, we have a pretty nice night shaping up down there, as well as across the entire four-state area. It was pretty cool today. We only made it up to 47 degrees after starting out at 38, which was, of course, below the normals of 58 and 36. Not anywhere near those records of 83 and -5 back in 1948. Radar's clear for the most part. We do have a few sprinkles and showers down in northwest Arkansas and southern Benton County near Siloam Springs, but all that is starting to move away from us. You can see it's a part of a system that was some energy that's rotating through our area right now. There's other little pieces of energy off towards the west that's going to make their way over our area over the next few days, but we're waiting on a bigger storm system off the west coast that's going to start to make its impact in here as we move towards Thursday, and that's when we expect the rain chances to start to go up. Temperatures right now are generally in the 30s and 40s, 39 in Fort Scott, Nevada, as well as Stockton. A little bit warmer down to the south where it's 43 in Nowata as well as Veneta. Pick out your hometown under northerly winds. And when you factor in the wind, this is what it feels like right now, pretty much in the 30s everywhere. Check out Independence. They're down to 33 is what it feels like right now. Also the same in Fort Scott, 41 in Grove. Dew points are also drier, 20s up towards the north and west. And this is kind of the first indication of where we're headed as far as low temperatures tonight. 38 in Grove and 36 down in Jay. Right now in Joplin, mostly fair skies with a temperature of 44 degrees, northwest wind at 8. So it feels like 40 out there. Dew points low at 28 and the humidity at 53%. In Pittsburgh, you see the flag flying there, 40 degrees, and it feels like 37 right now with the northwest wind at 5 and the humidity right now, double nickel at 55%. Your forecast for tonight, we're going to see mostly fair skies with northerly winds and temperatures getting quite cold, especially up towards the north, lower 20s like in Garnett with 21, 23 in Yates Center, same in Iola. A little bit warmer here in the metro, around 25, 26 and 27 down towards the south. Then as we head through the day tomorrow, we're expecting temperatures to barely struggle out of the 30s into the lower 40s, 38 in Garnett, 38 in Mound City, 39 in Iola, a little bit warmer down in Grove, where they should top out at about 45. Then as we go through Tuesday morning, winds are going to turn around to the east, but we're still going to be quite chilly with lows in the teens and 20s. Look at that, 20 in Mound City, 20 in Nevada, 21 in Stockton, a little bit warmer in Coffeyville with 27. Then as we head through Tuesday afternoon, the winds will turn around to the south. We should make it into the upper 40s to lower 50s across the area. And then as we move into Wednesday morning, south winds continuing, so we won't be quite as chilly, but still lows in the 30s on those southerly winds. Precipitation forecast as we go through time, we're expecting on Thursday scattered showers and storms with rainfall amounts around 1/3 to 1/2 inch, maybe some localized areas getting a little bit more than that. But it's going to be cold across most of the country in the 8 to 14 day period, especially on the West Coast. How about our area? Over the next 7 days, we're looking at 43 on Monday, 52 on Tuesday, and then here comes that round of storms on Thursday. And then for St. Patrick's Day, we're looking at 43 degrees and chilly next weekend, and that continues into the early part of next week. Cale?
Thank you, Sam. Coming up in sports, Missouri Southern baseball aims for the sweep against 5th-ranked Central Oklahoma. Plus, the Pitt State men return home after claiming the indoor track and field national championship. Jacob Leonard has that and more after this.
The Missouri Southern Lions finish up their 3-game series with Central Oklahoma this afternoon. Now the Lions are trying for the series sweep over the 5th-ranked Broncos after taking the first 2 games on Friday and Saturday. Now a win here gives Southern their first 3-game sweep of the season. Second inning, Broncos up 1-0, and they still have 2 guys on. But Owen Schneider gets out of the inning with a big strikeout. 3rd inning now. Schneider gets some help from the defense. Bouncer down the line. Look at Will Doherty. Jump throw over to first. Matt Miller scoops it. Great play there from Doherty. Now bottom of the 3rd, still 1-0, but the offense gets going. Nate Miskowski lines it into left center. Drew Davis comes around 3rd and scores. Lions tie this thing up at 1 apiece. Then later in the inning, Garrett Rice up. Bounces it hard up the middle. That allows Miskowski to score from 2nd. Southern has their first lead. Lions add 4 more in the 8th. And they complete the sweep over Central Oklahoma, winning the finale 6-3. The Pittsburg State Gorillas also in action at home this afternoon, wrapping up a 3-game series against Northwest Missouri State. The Gorillas take this one today 4-1. They take 2 out of 3 in the series from the Bearcats. Brevin Lee goes 3 for 4 at the plate with a triple and an RBI. Cade Clemens 2 for 4 with a solo home run. Pittsburg State now 6-3 in the MIAA. They'll be back on the field against Emporia State on Tuesday night. Well, the Pittsburg State men claimed the Division II Indoor Track and Field National Championship Saturday evening. The Gorillas had 4 individual national champions on Saturday and finished with 5 total in the 2-day national meet. Now this afternoon, the team returned home from Virginia Beach with all of their new hardware. Now for the PSU men, it's their 2nd indoor national championship in program history. They also won it in 2018, and this one wasn't really that close. Pittsburg State dominated the whole way through, finishing with 86 points. That's 44 more than the 2nd place finisher, Adams State.
Just an amazing feeling what these men did and how they competed for one another, how they came out and did what they're capable of doing. And on a big stage, sometimes that's really hard. And when you're having to deal with a lot of expectations and a lot of pressure internally and externally, and how these guys stepped up and didn't falter and did what they need to do, I couldn't be more proud of how these guys competed.
We finished off, we got our national championship that we wanted, but again, this is a long track season, so we build the outdoor, we take this feeling, remember it, so we can have the same one in May.
They know that there's a whole lot more in the tank, and they want to prove it. They want to prove and show people how good they can be and how good they are. And that's why they never get old with this.
The Missouri Southern women are still rolling in the Division II National Basketball Tournament. Tomorrow night, they play in the Sweet 16, facing the #1 seed in the Central region, Minnesota Duluth. Both teams are ranked in the top 20 in the nation. Southern is number 18. Duluth is number 6. And that game tomorrow will tip off at 7 o'clock. And the winner will go on to play in the Elite 8 in St. Joe, Missouri. And that's a look at sports. We're back with more news right after this.
A fire department in Washington State is set to buy its first electric fire engine. Erica Zuko has that story.
The first electric fire truck is expected to be stationed here, but all new Bellevue fire stations will also have electric charging capabilities. Lights and sirens will stay, but the hum that's expected from a diesel engine will go silent with the new Pierce Volterra the Bellevue Fire Department is purchasing.
It's not just environmental and climate change improvement, but it's also safety and health for our firefighters and for the community, right? We're driving down the road with diesel exhaust spewing out. Even though it meets the emissions, it's still not the best thing for our community members or for the environment.
Bellevue Fire Department says it's coordinating with Redmond and Seattle after they received state grants. The funding will cover $649,000, a quarter of the cost for a truck and charging infrastructure.
The Pierce Volterra Pumper.
Based on field tests by Pierce Manufacturing, the Deputy Chief of Support Services says the department is confident it can handle normal call volume and will have a small diesel engine for backup.
But when we're pumping on a fire and it's a long fire and we don't have a way to charge it, we still have to be able to pump for emergencies and still be able to go to emergencies. So there's a backup motor in it to support the long-term emergencies, the multiple calls.
Other than the engine, the Volterra will look and work like the department's other trucks. Bellevue Fire expects to adopt more in the years to come, while the city as a whole works to move its fleet toward more zero-emission vehicles.
The next house you live in might be built by robots, at least partially. You've heard all about autonomous vehicles, and that idea is also hitting construction sites. Florida excavation company Tomahawk is planning to use dump trucks that can drive themselves to help build a neighborhood in Naples. They're regular trucks that have been retrofitted with technology made by California company Teleo. While Teleo says full automation on construction equipment is still years away, the trucks use what it calls supervised autonomy. Up next, how a young girl from Arizona is experiencing a dream come true after her fight against cancer. A 9-year-old in Arizona got a chance that many dream of, recording her own song in a studio. All this after overcoming cancer. Fox's Irene Snyder has the story.
You may be wondering who that girl could be.
Every note, every beat, and every word has meaning for 9-year-old Bridget.
Stronger than you ever could imagine. I didn't think this would actually happen, but I'm glad it is.
Recording her very own song.
She is the brightest star in the sky.
With lyrics she wrote herself.
The beginning's kind of like, she is strong, she is brave, she is fearless. And it's just like showing like how I felt in that moment.
She needed that bravery over the last couple of years, battling non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
I just thought I wasn't going to be able to do like the things I loved anymore, like theater.
There's just nothing that can prepare you for that kind of news, and everyone loves Bridget. She just handled it. Just so brave.
She and her sister Madeline co-wrote 2 original songs with Katie Conder and Levi Ware from the Melodic Caring Project, an organization that helps child patients become rock stars, with a chance to debut their original songs live.
It's just a really healthy, powerful way for them to put into words and to express these feelings, these emotions that are heavy and hard to grapple with.
To be on, be in this stage of the process and seeing her smile and seeing her laugh and just knowing she's healthy.
Bridget says she's hoping her song will inspire others to be strong, brave, and fearless.
That girl is me.
Wow.
Great story.
That is.
Great story.
That's a wonderful story.
We have a great forecast in store for the area. We have warming temperatures as we head through the work week with some storms on Thursday. And then, of course, St. Patrick's Day turns dramatically colder with highs only in the lower 40s. And it stays cool all the way till next weekend. and remains cool for next week. So looks like the cool weather is going to stick around for a little bit longer for us.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty
Typical
solid.
for March.
Yeah, I mean, very, typical for March, very mild, but, after being so warm.
Yeah, absolutely.
All righty, well, that's our time for tonight. Thanks for joining us. We'll leave you with a video of tigers playing at the Dallas Zoo. We'll see you back here next time. Thanks for making us a part of your night.